Hi everyone, I'm immigration attorney John Khosravi. Thank you for joining the live broadcast and Q&A for immigration law with John Khosravi, JQK Law Firm. If you're watching this on Facebook, it's JQK Law Firm's the name of the social media page, and on TikTok, it's Immigration Lawyer John. Feel free to shoot your answers, and if I can't answer them, I'll give you a general answer. This is all educational only. I am an immigration lawyer, but I can't give case-specific guidance in that sense. The recording of this will be on YouTube for the JQK Law YouTube page, JQK Law Firm. And if you'd like to schedule a time, just schedule a consultation, that is, to review your case in person. Email me at info@jqklaw.com. Sangra, I'm good. How are you doing? Please note that the consultations are paid. They are not free. But if you did want to schedule a time, email me and briefly explain the immigration issue that you have. So first I could see if it's a case type that I handle. And secondly, I could tell you how much the consultation fee is. Some cases are easier. I could know what it is. Some cases are more complex, so more time is needed to review your case. But with that said, feel free, as people are trickling in, we're getting a large group coming in at once, just let me know what kind of questions, the issues you're dealing with. When it comes to questions about timelines, which you're going to have 10 or 20 questions about this probably in the next 30 minutes, I can't really help you. Go to USCIS.gov or call USCIS or something like that. But with the coronavirus and shutdowns, it's very hard to have a real number of how long things are going to take. So I can't really help you with those kind of matters. Sangra, yes, public. What about public? Let me know. One other thing I wanted to mention, I can't recall right now, but we'll get to it when it comes. But again, thank you all for trickling in, jumping in. Immigration Office is accepting cases. I'm filing what's called an L1A intercompany transfer tomorrow. I'm filing a case for a parent of a U.S. citizen tomorrow. I got an approval on a spouse of a U.S. citizen case yesterday or day before yesterday. I'm getting an RFE, a request for evidence, for one case, which is really incorrect probably. We'll see what happens with it. Sangra asks, is the public charge is canceled? Well, no, the public charge is not canceled at all. It's in full effect. And that's that. I'm not sure we heard it's been canceled, but there's nothing of the like. What is public charge? Well, 140 years ago when they started making rules for immigration laws in the United States, they said that we don't just want any person to come to the United States, we want to make sure they can take care of themselves. And so they created what's called the public charge rule, which is a very vague and general concept, and it gives immigration authorities a big discretion to make a decision whether they think you're going to be able to support yourself in the U.S. or if you're going to go broke and be poor and require government assistance or not be able to help take care of yourself and help the community here. So they created the public charge rule. Now in the last 30 or 40 years, the way public charge was enforced was if you're coming with a green card to live here, you have your sponsor complete an affidavit of support. But what happened after Trump came and since February 24th is it's much more hardcore than that. There's a lot more things they're going to ask for, so you have to be prepared. Sammy asks, can I change my date of birth after 4 years of being in the United States? I have all the evidence. So that's a weird question because you already have your green card, you have a date of birth on there, but you're saying the date of birth is incorrect. Now, if you want to change it now, serious issues could come up because it says, well, if you gave us the wrong information in the first place about your birth date, we couldn't do the background checks necessary, the criminal background checks and the like. So you may have given us false information. So whether you could change something or not, maybe you can, but that could open up a box and saying, oh, you weren't who you told us you were, or you lied on your application, didn't notice about the discrepancy. So we have to see why you're changing it and what the reason is and if it's justified. So that's something you should consult with an immigration attorney with in private to see what's going on, because there are risks involved of why in the first place you didn't give the proper date of birth when you got your green card. So that's the answer to that. It's not really an answer. It's very like, what's going on and why did that happen in the first place? Winnie Luck asks, if I take SBA disaster loan for my husband's business, would it be considered public charge? Well, a loan is a loan. It doesn't necessarily mean public charge. It depends on where you are in your case. So if it's for your business, it's your business. That's unrelated to your spouse's case. I don't see how that affects them. But the best thing to do is have a consultation private with a lawyer to see where the money's coming in and the whole situation of your business to see what's going on with that. Margie Patel asks, my parents were stuck in India due to COVID. You got to finish your question, then we'll get to when it comes up. Navreep asks, how conditional green card is different from a regular one? It works the same. Well, that's a great question. It comes up a lot, Navpreet, but let's go over it. So let's back it up first and talk about what removal of conditions I-751 is. So if someone gets a green card through marriage, and the marriage was relatively new. So when you got the green card, the marriage was less than 2 years old. At that time, the green card that is issued is called a conditional green card. It's only valid for 2 years. And the point of that is when the 2-year time is coming and you need to file to extend or renew that green card, you have to file another application form I-751 to again show the government that you were really married. And look, here's my life after we got the green card, we moved in, we were living together, we have lease agreements, bank accounts, insurance, all the like, and you submit that to the government to let them know this relationship was real and it continued in a real fashion after I got the green card. Now, if you separate or something like that happens, there's other things you could do. It's more complicated. But your question is, how is it the conditional green card different from a regular 10-year green card? There's no difference. They work exactly the same, except for the fact that the 2-year green card expires after 2 years, and you have to show evidence of your relationship to renew it. Whereas the 10-year green card, when it expires, you simply file a form I-90 to renew it. Better yet, you probably should file for citizenship if it's appropriate. But that's that. The only difference is at the 2-year stage for the conditional green card, they're looking to see if the relationship was real, whereas on a 10-year full green card, they're going to just renew it based on, having a clear history in general, not being, subject to a criminal history or, felony or something like that. So that's the difference with that. But good question. Imsharia Khan asks, I applied for my I-130 in April 2070. I have not heard back anything from them. Is that normal? I don't know. There's way too many things and more I need to know in that question for me to answer that, so I don't know. Also, can I apply for a work permit? So just filing, you wrote I-30, is I-130 is a petition for alien relative. You don't apply for it, someone applies for you, a relative. It depends on what kind of form I-130 petition for alien relative was submitted, if you file for adjustment status or not, what your background is. So there's a lot of things going on. You 100% should consult with a lawyer in private to see what's going on in your case, because I don't know, the stuff you're saying doesn't fully give me all the information I need to be able to provide an answer. And that way, that's the reason a consultation is needed. Donia asks, is it true if a green card person goes back home and stays back home for 5 months, they will not be allowed to come back? No, that's absolutely not true. If a green card holder spends more than 6 months outside the United States, a U.S. government at the border, for example, at the airport or something, could say you can't come back in. Very unlikely they'll do that. If you spend more than a year, that could happen. Still, it's unlikely. They probably let you in and go to immigration court first and have a judge make a determination if you've abandoned your green card. So we look at abandonment. You're not living in the United States, you're outside. But 5 months is fine. But what could happen is if you're constantly going back, because one thing people do is they get a green card, they go back home for 5 months, come to the U.S. for 2 days, and then go back home for 5 months, and come back. If you do that repeatedly, they're going to start questioning whether you're really residing in the United States, which is kind of one of the requirements for lawful permanent residency. Once you get a green card, you're supposed to be living and staying in the United States. And if you're not doing that, that calls into question whether you're really a resident of the United States. Now, they haven't historically been too harsh about this, so I'm not too worried about it. But for citizenship, it becomes a problem. For citizenship, you have to have continuously resided in the United States for the last 5 years in most cases. So if you have constantly living in another country, they're going to call that into question of whether you're really continuously residing in the United States. So that's where the problem comes in. A lot of times it's for citizenship, not for the green card. But just if you have one 5-month trip, I guess you're not going back home, you're going back to the old home because your home is in the US, but one 5-month trip itself is not a problem unless there's a lot of fishy business going on, a lot of things that make them suspicious. So I wouldn't worry about that too much, but there's a lot more factors I need to know about the reason for the travel and what's going on. Margie Patel asks, he has a green card and he's 6 months, will be finished next month, so they have a problem to come. It depends on the officer at the airport. So if you spend too much time outside the United States, it's usually when you're re-entering at the airport, that's when they're going to really question stuff. Normally it's not a problem, normally they don't, but you never know. Each officer has the right to push it, and so what they need to do in that kind of situation is they need to be prepared to explain how they actually reside in the United States, have documentation to show that they're really living in the U.S., if not for this special circumstance that happened that kept them outside. So if they have a home here, they need to show proof of renting or ownership, having a car, having health insurance, having work, what other this kind of stuff to say, no, my life is really here. that was a temporary absence for things outside of my control. And so that's why I need to really talk with you or the person who has having this issue, go through your life history and see how we could show that you're really living in the United States, you're not really living outside. And so that becomes really important, these kind of things. That's why consultation is needed, because we got to sit and talk. We got to see what's going on with your life and their life and what's going on. So we have the answers ready and the paperwork ready in case it comes up, even though it's rare. So I generally, it's very rare for that to be the problem. So I don't want to scare you and everything like that. But you got to be careful. If you want to keep that green card, you got to try to stick by the book, especially during President Trump's administration. They're looking for reasons to give problems to people, and you don't want to give that reason to them. And that's a reality of the government we're living on right now. All right, so you have a lot of people join the group. Thank you. User 840 asks, my green card interview was canceled because of COVID-19. When will it be rescheduled? I don't know. So with the questions about timelines, that's up to USCIS or the State Department. You could call and ask them. They're going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you. I don't know. But please don't ask this because usually this Q&A, I get asked it a lot and it gets kind of repetitive. So I might skip over the questions where the people ask, how long are things going to take? Because the answer is going to be the same. I don't know. I don't want to guess. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't answer the future. You're welcome, Donia. Okay, so Reeks Peace asks, TPS receptor here. I think you got TPS. Temporary protective status is a special status that some people could apply for if the government declares a TPS, which means that their home country is having some major issues, and if they're in the United States, they could stay here until the main issue in their home country gets better, and they'll get a work permit as well. So here we have a TPS holder and asks, I have a 21-year-old daughter, how can I get residency? Well, your daughter would have to apply for you. Her finances, your finance will be a big factor. Your background and how you enter the United States are a big factor depending on where you live. For example, they handle TPS adjustment. Adjustment is a name for applying for a green card in the U.S. differently, and it's called a Ninth Circuit. So California, Hawaii, Nevada, Oregon, these states on the West Coast, as opposed to other areas. So I need to have a consultation session with you and your daughter because I need to know how you went to the United States and what city you're living in, as well as your daughter's financial background, your financial background, if you have health insurance, you have a work permit or TPS, if you're working, your social security number, a credit background check, health, a lot of these kind of things we got to sit and talk about, and then I could break it down for you. But you have some of the main ingredients to be able to apply for a green card, which is having a daughter, potentially a TPS status, which has a work permit, which means you might be working, making money, which are all positives for applying for a green card. But I need to know a lot more information to be able to give you guidance. So email me, it's info@jqqlaw.com. There is a consultation fee, but email me, explain, and remind me what your situation is, and I can let you know what that fee is, and we could do a video consultations. And after reviewing your information, I could break down everything that I believe is necessary and if it's possible, and all that kind of stuff during the conversation. Musi asks, are they allowing green card for marriage based without interview? I'm hearing that when you apply for a green card in the United States based on marriage, you have to do an interview. Rarely, sometimes they'll approve the case without an interview, and I've heard that from people that's happening. But it's rare, but most likely it's not going to happen for you. It's very rare. So just base it and rely on the fact that it's going to happen, and if it doesn't, that's the cherry on top, But they are allowing it, but it doesn't make a difference because you don't know if it's going to be you or not who's getting the green card approved without an interview. So I think about something I have no control over. Let's be stoic about it and just say if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, because we have no control over that, as well as timelines and stuff that people ask a lot about. Love Gender asks, I filed a marriage green card case in immigration. After 3 fee months, I withdrew the case and I got a divorce with my wife. Okay, we got to finish the question. Danny asks, how soon will, I don't know, timeline question. Mishutsi, does petitioner of spousal green card have to notify USCIS or NBC if they change jobs during application process? So it depends on what process you're in and going through. Let's assume in this case that you are going through consular processing, which means your spouse is overseas and they're going to go through the embassy process to get their green card. Now, for the first step, you submit to USCIS, you prove your relationship is real. So the focus is not really on your employment, so it doesn't matter there. But for the NVC portion, the National Visa Center portion, you're supposed to let them know how much money you're making and what kind of work you have. If you haven't submitted those already, we'll submit the new updated information. If you submitted those and you're waiting for the interview, you should have updated information about your job change with the applicant, your spouse, when they go to the interview. So pay stubs, employment contract, all this kind of stuff to show that you're still making that money and here's a new employment. And they could take that with them to the interview to show it to the officer to let them know these updates have happened, because they're going to ask about this stuff potentially. But if you're making enough money in a previous tax return, it's probably not going to come up. But it's good to notify them to be straightforward. But it should happen at the interview stage, depending on how much documents you've already submitted to them. Potentially you could just upload to it, depending on, there's a website you're supposed to upload documents to when you're going through the embassy system. Depending if that's locked or you're able to upload it, and if you have a lot of pay stubs and employment stuff, and you're making good money, you can upload through. Why not? Just give them the information beforehand so they're prepared. But definitely at the interview, just let them know, have the paperwork ready. That's the safe thing to do. Okay, Love Gender asks, Love Gender had a case they started with somebody, they got divorced, and they want to start a new case with another woman, another spouse. Can you file again? Well, you can't file again. Filing is one thing, approval is another. They're going to look at this case with some mistrust because you're doing it again. So in this kind of case, I got to research and know what exactly happened in the previous relationship and be able to document that in the situation, and well document the new relationship so it doesn't look like you're just getting money from women to file for their green card. So that's the doubt that they're going to have, and we need to show the development of these relationships and what happened so it overcomes that doubt. So whether you can file, yeah, you could file it. Filing is just giving the paperwork. Whether it's going to get approved or not, that's another question. And so based on 2 sentences here, I can't give you that kind of legal advice. We'd have to sit and talk about this and analyze what happened in the previous relationship. Let's look into the new relationship, what's going on there, and then I can give you a general idea. But keep in mind, the power is in the hands of the officer. They're the ones making the decision. So if I tell you something, it's based on a professional guess. And that's why we try to get as much paperwork and documentation to back it up in case they don't want to believe it. The power is in their hands when they make the final decision. What we could do is persuade them by showing a lot of paperwork, a lot of documents, and being well prepared during the interview so they can tell that this is a real relationship, it's not fake, and that's why we need to really dive deep into your personal life to see what's going on, what happened previously, why you got a divorce, how you met this new woman, how your relationship developed, how the communication records are, what gifts did you buy her, are you on financial plans together, all this kind of stuff to make sure that you're really a real couple and you're not just faking it. All right, Musi asks, are they giving, okay, ask that 4. You're welcome, RG. Donia asks, my mom has a green card, but she is not working. She wants to apply for my siblings. Can she do it? No. Oh, your siblings, well, again, that's the previous question. She can apply, but it's going to be a couple of years before your siblings, depending on how old they are, can get the green card. So at that time when they're finishing up the process, probably consular processing if they're overseas, at that time she needs to be able to work and make money or have a joint sponsor. So it's possible, but we need to dig in deep and get more information about the case and explain the timeline. So yeah, it's possible right now just to get it started. You probably should, but before that, sit and schedule a consultation with a lawyer. If you want to contact my office, it's info@jqqlaw.com, so we can actually sit down and go through it, learn about who your siblings are, what their age is, what their marital status is, so we see how long it'll take and who would be a joint sponsor and how well their documentation is to be prepared for when the time comes. But it might be 7-9 years before they could even come here, so be prepared for that. Let's see. Winnie Luck says, Trump said today they will have border closed indefinitely. Does that mean we can't travel abroad? I don't know. I haven't heard what he said. A lot of times Trump says stuff, but just because he says it doesn't mean it's what's actually going to happen. We have to see what the actual text of the rules and regulations that he puts out are and judge it based on that. There has to be exceptions. There's no way he can shut down the border. So we have to see if he does want to shut it down, what the exceptions are. I can't go by what the president says because he says one thing, but from experience, we have to finally see how the final word comes out on that. Hara asks, when does the 60-day travel ban start and end? Well, the 60-day travel ban is just a minimum of 60 days. So we don't know when it's going to end. It's up to the president and the administration when this new travel ban will end. So there's no question of when it's going to end. When it started, I think was, late April? I can't remember exactly. Maybe April 24th is when it started. But they'll notify us if he decides to continue it or not continue it. We'll have to see. Vindo Velars asks, my wife is in India now. She has a green card. Will she be okay if she stays there for more than 11 months? I talked about this about 10 minutes ago. So what I'd recommend is going to the YouTube page, JQK Law Firm, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and go through that. I don't want to explain the same thing over again. But it's not good that she's at 11 months. But there you go, hear more about it. It's best that she return to be safe. Okay, Pela Miotsats asks, can you apply for asylum after using 1 year in the United States? So I think you're asking, can you apply for asylum after being in the United States for more than 1 year? So when you apply for asylum in the United States, you have to apply within 1 year of being here. If it goes past 1 year, they don't accept it unless you have a reason to explain why it took more than a year to file for asylum. Because if you're afraid for your life, you're not going to wait 2 years to apply for asylum. You're going to do it within a year. So if it's lasted more than a year, you have to be able to explain and document what the changed circumstances were that caused you to now file late. And so for that, you really need to consult a lawyer, get it prepared, because they're going to look at your case with some doubt, and you don't want that to happen. So look into it with them and see why is it that you didn't file sooner, and that's the way to deal with that. You need a private consultation to review your whole case. Now, I don't do asylum cases, but if you email me, I can connect you with one of my colleagues. Just let me know what city you're in so we can try to find someone that's local to you if I have something like that. Sandeep, hi to you as well. Abby asks, I have a green card. I applied for my wife. Is there any problem with immigration law which Trump signed? Maybe. There's 100 different things I need to know to be able to answer that. So schedule a consultation with my office, info@jqklaw.com, so I can see what you applied, what your documents say, what your relationship situation is, where your spouse is at, before I can apply and answer a question like that. Invisible asks, what if I file marriage green card after I expired my F1 visa? So first of all, F1 visa is a student visa. If the visa itself expires, it doesn't matter. It's whether your status is still valid in the United States, whether you're going to school or not, whether you're an OPT, or whether you have a grace period afterwards. But if you marry a U.S. citizen, it's still going to be fine. It depends on if you marry a green card holder or a U.S. citizen. If you marry a green citizen, it's fine if you haven't received a notice to appear to go to immigration court for overstaying. So there's a lot of different things we need to know to be able to answer your question. Most likely it's probably okay, but without knowing a lot of details about your relationship and your visa history, I'm not able to answer that question. So email my office to schedule a time, and so we can spend a video consultation session to go over your history, look at your documents, and see what's going on. Hari asks, I'm a green card holder. I've submitted all the documents to NVC. Will they review my case or not? So you're a green card holder. I'm not sure why you submitted cases to the National Visa Center if you already have a green card. If you're asking maybe already married last year, if it's for your spouse, they'll look at it, but they should look at it. Yeah. They're understaffed right now, so everything's slowed down. They're going to go for more priority kind of stuff, but I don't know their internal procedures. They don't tell us. But you submit your stuff, you do what you got to do on your end, and just be wait, and that's all you can do. You have no control of the situation. Okay, how to ask this question about timelines. I'm not answering questions about timelines. Winnie Luck, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much for the kind words. BJ asks, hi, I got an I-693 letter, but I still does have my biometric done, so where am I standing? Thanks. I think you're asking, so when you apply for a green card, you have to also do a medical checkup and submit that. If they haven't got it with the initial application, they'll send you a letter that says bring it to the interview. So you got that, that's fine. That means they did the initial review of your case most likely, and you're just waiting for an interview. They've shut down biometrics right now. Biometrics is the fingerprints and photos they have to take to do background checks. Because of the coronavirus, they've shut that down. So if you haven't done the biometrics, you could potentially do your interview, but they won't approve your case until they can finish the background checks. But interviews are shut down to at least June 4th. There's 3 months worth of backed up cases. So in general, where do you stand? Who knows? Just be patient, and when the time comes, you'll get what you need. Okay, Daisy asks how long something's going to take. Please visit USCIS.gov or something like that. I don't answer questions about timelines. Val Martha asks, hi, do you take cases out of state? It depends. Most of the time I do. For immigration is a federal practice, which means I could practice immigration law anywhere in the country, in the world. And most of the stuff I do, the types of cases I handle, are cases where I mail stuff to the government. So my location, your location doesn't really matter unless you got a really complex case that requires me to be there in person, which is rare. But what I would say is email me, break down the basics of your case, and then I'll get you know then. If I still need more info, we'll set up this consultation. We'll analyze it further there, then I can let you know. But I do cases from all over the country regularly. That's why on TikTok here, this advertisement is really good because everyone's seeing me across the country and the world, and I can take all these cases. Sebastian asks, hello sir, I had a B1 visa, but I stayed here. Now I'm undocumented. How can I fix status? Well, how can you do that? First, you call an immigration attorney, schedule a consultation. That question is way too broad and general to be asked here, and see if any exception applies to you. It's going to be hard. Maybe, most likely, there's no answer. You'll be unsuccessful. One option, maybe if you are in love and marrying a U.S. citizen, that might save you, or if you get TPS or something like that. But you got to schedule a consultation time, look into it with more detail, see what's going on with your case. You're welcome, BJ. Danny asks, I paid for my wife's exam fees, but interview was canceled. Will I have to pay for new fees? No, if they cancel the interview, you don't have to pay new fees. That's only if you messed up somehow where you'll have to pay the fees. But if your spouse was going to go to an interview with the Department of State at the embassy and it was canceled on their part, you will not have to pay fees. David asks on Facebook, any OPT news? It depends on what you mean by news. There's a lot of things going on with people who have OPT. These are student visa holders who could work. It depends, like some doctors on OPT are having some certain stuff coming up. It's really case specific. There's a lot of different things, but I can't go through all of it here. So definitely consult with an immigration attorney if you have any particular OPT stuff. Where are the new requirements that they apply? So Latina asks, what are the new requirements to apply for a visa after February 24th? I went through this earlier today, so early in this talk. So look at the recording that's going to pop up for today on YouTube, on the YouTube page, JQK Law, for tomorrow, day after tomorrow. It'll have a discussion, or tune in tomorrow and I'll repeat it there. But I don't want to miss out on people's questions to repeat the same answer again. Okay, so Nicole asks, do you have any idea when embassies, I don't have any answers about timelines, so I can't help you with that. You're welcome, Danny. Is that okay? So 14 Lillian Contreras asks, I've been to Mexico a lot of times this year. Can I still file for citizenship? So for citizenship, you have to be physically present in the United States for, if you're doing a 5-year based citizenship, you have to be here for half of that time, so 2.5 years. And you can't have long absences outside the United States or make it look like you're not living here. So if you have a lot of trips back and forth, we have to analyze exactly how many days you're physically in the United States. So you have to sit and count those and then look into your life and see what's going on. Are you really living in the United States or not? Do you have a lease agreement here? Do you have a work here? What's the reason you're going to Mexico? So there's an analysis that has to happen in your kind of case to see what's going on. So to answer your question, we have to have a video consultation. I have to get your travel history. I need to know more about your life. And then to figure it out. Whether you've been a resident for 5 years or 20 years, it doesn't matter. It's all about what's happened in the last 5 years. That's really the thing they're looking at. So if you like, schedule a consultation in my office, email me, info@jqqlaw.com. There's a consultation fee, but email me, remind me what your question is, and I can tell you what the fees are for having that initial consultation, and during the meeting, we could take it from there and let you know what I can do. But I have to spend some time with you and look over your whole case history for the last 5 years in particular before I could answer that question, because officers are going to do the same analysis. So when you submit an application to the government, you send a lot of paperwork about your personal life and ask a lot of questions. I need to do the same. So I got to act like I'm the officer who's going to judge you or approve your case, and I have to try to find problems with your case. And so that's why, like, you know, you're not going to do your green card or citizenship interview over the phone and a quick question. It's the same thing, because the officer wants to know more information about you, sit and talk with you and judge you and all that kind of stuff. I have to do the same. That's why I have to do a consultation session to do that. And that's, a lot of people will think, oh, you're just, want some money for consultation. It's not that. I got to act like I'm the officer, and an officer doesn't make a decision after just talking with you for 2 minutes. And not that you're asking this stuff, but just generally for people, the officer's got to sit down and he's going to look at your file before you come in the room. Afterwards, they can analyze in the service center. They can do background checks. I have to do the same stuff. I can't send you to the government, with your eyes closed, with your hands behind your back. We have to be prepared and have answers for everything that could possibly come up. That's being thorough, that's being prepared, and that's what I have to do. And so, that's why, lawyer's the lawyer. That's what kind of job we have, to protect our clients. And that's why I want to have a consultation always first, to have a full picture. People email me all the time saying, I have an easy case. How much is it? Well, first of all, you don't know what an easy case is. You haven't seen the things I've seen that people thought were easy cases. So I got to judge whether I think it's an easy case. And even if it is, there's little things that can be problematic. So some person here at one of the first questions said that they want to change their date of birth because the date of birth they got on their green card was incorrect. They fixed their old paperwork. Now they have the correct date of birth. Well, you know, that's not an easy issue. That's a major problem because why did you tell them the wrong date of birth in the first place? Now it could look really bad on your case. And so that person filed and didn't think it was a big deal until this TikTok live came. So this is the kind of stuff that happens that we really got to sit down and look to see why is it these things are the way they are and what can we do. So I'm about to wrap it up right now. If you all have one last question, let me know. If not, come join it tomorrow from 5 to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday. I'm on TikTok live, John, Immigration Lawyer John, John. If you haven't followed already, please click on the follow on the profile. Go to the Instagram page and the YouTube page. I got a lot more videos that are more helpful. Also on my Instagram page, I usually post approvals I've had for cases, and you'll see what city it was in and what dates it had and what type of case it was. It'll give you a general understanding of what timelines are in that location at that period of time. You know, past performance is not an indicator of future performance, but if you are worried about timelines, that's one way to review it and look at it. Just visit my Instagram page, JQK Law Firm. Thank you, Thapao. God bless you as well. I guess we'll end it right here. God bless everybody. I hope you guys stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and talking about immigration law more. And if you want some more of this, just visit the YouTube page, JK Law Firm, and you catch yesterday's video, and today's video is going to be popping out pretty soon. God bless everybody. Thank you, and see you tomorrow. Stay safe. Bye-bye.